Welcome to the Amiga Ireland podcast. I'm Jarlath.
I'm Luke.
And I'm Rob.
And today we've got Miss Mad Lemon with us. Maddie has an extensive library of videos covering everything from hardware modifications for the C64, the Amiga, mini discs, hi-fi, amplifiers, and electronics, much more, as well as software customizations, game reviews, and music. There's plenty there for no matter what your interest is. And her YouTube channel is Miss Mad Lemon, and she's with us today. Hi, Maddie. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
It's great to actually chat to you after seeing so many of your videos. Do you want to introduce yourself to people listening to us and tell us about your channel and maybe how you got started?
Sure. Well, I'm Madiha, or Miss Mad Lemon on YouTube. And I do a lot of retro or vintage stuff on my channel. And it's basically my feeling of nostalgia. I'm kind of like using creativity to kind of portray that, and it comes with it has all the vintage audio and vintage computers that I had in my past. I explore that, and by the way, it's the first time I'm doing a podcast. I'm kind of like spotlights on me. Right.
Can you tell us something more about yourself? What do you do for a living, for example, and what are your hobbies outside of, like an Amiga and vintage and retro?
I'm actually a photographer, and that was my hobby initially, and also painting with oils. And I think a lot of my YouTube channel is actually to do with my hobbies. So all the Amiga stuff, the music making and so forth, that's actually, what I do as a hobby.
Wow.
Good stuff. So all this vintage technology, is this something from your childhood or how were you exposed to it all to start with?
Well, the vintage audio, it's always been there. I mean, the Amiga itself, this has, we got the Amiga 500 when, I was about 7 or something. And it's the first computer that I ever touched. So, of course, it's got a lot of meaning. And it's the thing that my brother had it connected to his hi-fi. So we always heard it from the beginning. We always heard it with amazing sound, not through the TV, through RF or anything. So I think the music on the Amiga kind of just blew me away, as well as the graphics, because they had a ZX Spectrum before that, and I didn't, play on it. I was quite young, but they actually saw the graphics and everything and compared to that. Actually, they bought a Plus 2, the Spectrum Plus 2, and then what happened is, after about a week, that was gone. So they went and exchanged it for 500, so I was just
all right.
Wow.
Good choice.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And you have a Commodore 64 now, so did that come after the Amiga?
Yes, that's right. This is Commodore 64 is one of those where I saw it at friends' houses. I saw it in people play on it back in the day, but I wanted it, but I never had the chance to I never got one. So this time last year, I decided on Commodore 64, what I didn't have back then and always wanted.
Okay, now I'm doubly impressed by your videos. You've really nailed it in a short time.
It was taking some time to get used to, but I think I'm kind of seeing it as a mini Amiga because it kind of reminds me of an Amiga, the graphics and the sound a bit, more than the Atari 8-bit computers. The C64 reminds me of.
Oh, interesting.
Right, I'm sure all of us have seen your hardware music modifications and heard your music and seen your art. Where did you actually learn all of these, hardware, software skills and artistic skills? Because that's your skills are really, really good.
Oh, thank you. Actually, I'm learning as I'm going along. It's like self-teaching myself. To be honest, I didn't take any classes for any of this thing. It's just, I'm a curious soul, and it's sort of, I just get a
Very
Commodore
curious.
64 Amiga or whatever in front of me, and I kind of dive in, like, what's this? What's that?
Wow.
Learn from it slowly.
I'm even more impressed now, to be honest.
That's impressive.
Me too,
Yeah.
yeah, because I did engineering in college and I'm learning from you, Maddie, so...
I mean, the electronics, I think I've been tinkering with just components. Like when I was about 10, I saw like somebody, it was my brother who was doing some project, and he showed me like a battery with a motor and it span. And I was just like, wow. And that's how it began. I just had this bucket of components, but I just emptied. And just like messed around with bulbs and stuff. It's like, so that's kind of progressed since that. But then when I went in my teenage years, I started creating things like for the Amiga, the stereo separation thing. I wanted to listen to music on headphones, but of course, Amiga music is so separated that each of your ears feels like it's on a different planet. So it's like I needed so I understood how the variable resistors work. So I decided to, make a stereo separation adjustment thing, and I just started making little things like that, and it kind of slowly built up.
Awesome. So, apart from the hardware side, have you actually done any coding, or have you ever had any interest in coding?
I always wanted to, but it's something which I've tried to learn. It's just like reading music. I cannot read music to save my life. And same with programming. It's one of those things I wanted to learn, but I could just never do. Because I think my mind is probably just not geared that way or something. But
I doubt that now.
Yeah, I don't believe that either.
But sometimes it's just something clicks with you and others don't, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think I have like a great admiration and respect for people who can code and program. It's just like, it just seems way, ahead of me, over my head. I mean,
you're doing some great videos at the moment, and I'm curious, have you always been active with your Amiga since the beginning, or did you take a break in the middle like a lot of us did?
I took a break, unfortunately. I think if you've seen my video about my history about the Amiga, you all know that I'm kind of like hanging my head right now because of what I sold. It was just like, I made a towered Amiga back then, and did Amiga 1200 with Blizzard PPC 6840 with the B-Vision graphics card and, zip drives and everything. And it was just...
It was a beast of a machine.
Yes, it was, and I sold it. What was I thinking? I don't know, but I sold it.
Oh dear.
And then I went to emulation, and then some emulation for about the next, from 2004 until about 2014, I guess, 2015. And I bought my Amiga again. No, never been happier.
Good stuff. They say you can never escape it, once you're bitten.
It's true.
It's a very hard addiction. It's just so addictive. Right. Anyway, was there much of a Commodore or Amiga scene when you were growing up? Friends, or computer groups, or shops, stores, or anything like that?
Actually, it was more the consoles. It was more like the Master System, Mega Drive, and Super Nintendo, things like this. There wasn't that many people who had an Amiga compared to. I mean, there were a few, of course. My brother's friends and some family friends, but not as much as I heard people talking about the Mega Drive or the Master System before that. And it was surrounded by these more than, especially in the school. At school, there was everybody had a console more than. I think it was just about me and 2 or 3 others that I knew out of the entire year that had an Amiga.
Mm-hmm. What current developments are you looking forward to in the Amiga world?
The vampire thing I'm curious about. I think that's what put me over the edge to kind of get an Amiga again. Even though I'm wondering, because it sounds like it's going to be pretty pricey. I mean, what we heard about the Vampire 1200 before and what we're hearing now is kind of so
yeah.
So I'm sort of waiting on that, seeing what comes, and I'm actually excited about a lot of the things because there's so many things that are coming out, and I'm just like, wow, I didn't realize the Amiga community was this alive. I just kind of got my 1200 and was like, okay, let's see what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think of the next gen Amigas like AROS, OS4, and Morphos? Like, have you any interest in those?
OS4, I've been curious about this, and it's like, if I still had my Blizzard PPC from back then, I don't know if it would be possible or not, but I would try and install it at least and see what it's about. So there is that curiosity about it, even though my favorites, are the old school OSs, the 3.9 and below. But Eras, I actually don't know these ones. I've just seen screenshots around here and there, so I haven't had any experience, but it'd be interesting to experience and see what they're all about.
Well, Eras is kind of handy because it'll run in a virtual machine, so you can just stick it on a PC or, a Linux box or whatever you have.
And I believe WinUAE can run OS4, right?
It can, yeah. There's a bit of setting up involved, but it is possible, yeah.
It's OS4 Classic, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
And it's the same one that would run on the Blizzard PPC.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
And for MorphOS, you can install it on a dirt cheap old Apple machines, the PPC ones. They are really cheap nowadays.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Is it just any Mac with a PPC, or does it have to be specific?
Most of them. There are some that aren't supported, but if you look at the MorphOS website, they have a list of the ones that are that are compatible. Like I have an iBook here that I've had for years. It was given to me, because the keyboard didn't work or something like that, and it's perfect. I've recently got like a Power Mac G4 as well. Just look for a G4 machine, and I'm sure you'll be fine. Yeah, they tend to come up with quite a bit on eBay, and in local sort of basically people are throwing them out, because they don't realize they're
sometimes
usable.
you can just get them for free.
Yeah,
really.
Wow. It's definitely worth trying out then.
Absolutely,
have a look.
And you can try the OS for half an hour. You can it sort of goes slow after half an hour, so you can try it out for half an hour at a time, and then see if you like it before you buy it. Yeah,
I've got a lot of things to look into here.
There you go.
Right, let's move on to the next question then. You've got some incredible videos showing actually how to modify different retro machines and equipment, like SD card, HD for Amiga, recapping, music creation, PSU hacks, internal CD drive on Amiga, and so on and so on. So, what are your favorite projects so far, personally?
My favorite project, I think, will have to be. Actually, there's probably a couple. The CD drive is one. It's when I first did it, there was I got a mixed response. It was like actually most of people were liked it, but there was some who were just like, oh, there's no point. But I've got lots of Amiga format CDs that I bought back in the day. I still have them now, the cover CDs. Sorry, and it's like I have. Just recently bought, a couple of games as well, Amiga CD games, which I still haven't opened yet. I need to make a video about them to close that up. So it's, I would like to try them. And also, it's not just about practicality. If we're talking about practicality, then why are we using Amigas or anything like this?
I say this a lot as well.
Yeah, it's true. It's like people say, what's the point of having this, and what's the point of having a floppy disk or something like that? It's just want to go back and experience it, Yeah.
We'd all be using Windows otherwise.
Exactly, yeah. It's just like, it was more the life than practicality.
Exactly.
Actually, that's what, from 2004 to 2014, 15, that was the time when I sold my Amiga, I put all my cassettes, mini discs, and vinyl records in the attic, and it was just me with one laptop, and everything was in there, digital emulators, music, everything. And it was the most soul-draining time, I have to say. It's just, I was practicality about everything. I was trying to minimize my life for some reason. And you just don't live. It's just, there's nothing like putting a vinyl record on a record player. There's nothing like recording onto a cassette or something like this. It's nothing like the real Amiga.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. So, have you been to any user group meetings or parties or any of these gatherings that seem to be happening more and more often, actually?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. It's kind of like I'm new to all that.
Yeah. There are a lot of these things just popping up here, there, and everywhere. And in the last couple of years, we've had one start up in Ireland. It's that Jarlath here has been organising. So, but they're cropping up everywhere.
Yeah, I've noticed this events and stuff, and it's something that I didn't get to do back then. So it'd be kind of nice to go.
Yeah, you should try and make it to some of them.
Yeah, you should definitely, especially the Ireland
Of
one.
course.
Of course, that would actually be really nice because I like to go to Ireland and see.
Cool. Yeah, we'll look after you. We'll make sure you see the good stuff and don't waste all your time on the boring stuff. So during your peak Commodore and Amiga times in your youth, what else was going on in your life that you're kind of reminded of when you're using your Amigas and Commodores?
As in the other parts, I think it was mostly a great times with friends, things like that. It was they were just carefree times. It just felt like it, at least compared to these days. And it was school days for me when I was mostly on the Amiga 500. Amiga 500, then 1200, and then when I started making music, actually I did a lot of my homework on it. It's on the Amiga, and it was just like a lot of that sort of thing. It was like a lot of friends, a good circle of friends we had, and I was known as the geeky one of them all.
Badge of honor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any favorite apps or favorite games?
Favorite games? It's hard. I struggle with that because whenever I think of it, there's so many games that come to mind saying me, pick me, pick me. It's like a line of them. So it's like I like Another World is a really nice one, but also Prince of Persia, Lemmings, and things like that. Superfrog was one which I remember back in the day. I used to Friday nights after school, I used to gather some fruit and snacks and stuff and just play it all the way through the entire night, and to end up in 6 a.m. or something like this, on the space station level or something.
I'm sure we all know that.
Yes.
Remember that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another World, I've kind of gone through it. I must have gone through it about 4 or 5 times. I can still, go through that game and just never get bored of it.
What about apps? Do you have a favorite app or apps that you use on a regular basis?
Soundtracker Pro 2 by Marco Nelson. It's not the 1996 one. It's a shame that it's that one that I've latched onto because it's got a proprietary file format, but at the same time it's more advanced than the normal Pro Tracker mode. It saves MIDI information, things like this. And it's got a lot of other. I think it's got a higher octave, and you can do higher notes on it and things like that. So I think that is my Soundtracker Pro 2, and Deluxe Paint comes to mind as well. Yeah.
Have you tried, for example, as well Octamed or Digibooster?
Digibooster, I always wanted to try Digibooster Pro, but it was just so expensive that it's you know what I mean? It's just very expensive. Yeah. I even looked at it recently, trying to get it, and I looked at it, I was like, the price, it's too much. Especially for a program, which I'm like, okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to get on with it. But I've tried Octamed. Octamed, the interface, I just could, it's a great program, it's fantastic, it doesn't but the interface for me, how it works, I think Soundtracker Pro is one of those where it's just intuitive for me. I'm somebody who doesn't like menus within menus and too much things like that. Yeah, 1 or 2 levels, okay, it's 1 level, it's fine, but more than that, it gets a bit too much for me. So Soundtracker Pro setup is just perfect for how my mind works. But with Octamed, it's one of those I've always wanted to use it. I always open it up and look at everything. I'm like, let's just go back to Soundtracker.
Yeah. I watched your video that compared the different sound applications. It was absolutely brilliant because I was trying to get MIDI going and I had learned how to use Pro Tracker, which didn't support MIDI, so I needed another option, and Octamed just I suppose I could read the manual or something, but I prefer to just something you can just get to work on, and your one was a lot easier to use. I liked it.
Soundtracker Pro. Actually, if you're which version of Octamed did you try?
Off the top of my head, I cannot remember. I don't know, but it used the native Workbench widgets anyway. It wasn't
Sound Studio, I think.
Sound Studio version 5 onwards, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I just recently messed around with Octomod 4, even though I'm still not kind of won over by Octomod's interface. It's actually Octomod 4 it's much better than, in my opinion, in my way it's set up. It's much easier and intuitive than the later ones, and I think a few people found that. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, you're saying what I was going to say. It's basically it's the old school interface that a lot of the trackers used.
I agree. Number 4 seems to be a good one for me as well.
I actually got MIDI working on that because I'm working on a video at the moment, and I wanted to experience the MIDI out because I've never experienced the Amiga, play something, control my MIDI keyboard, and play sounds through that, or make it play sounds. So it was just like last night I was messing around with Octomod 4, and I just played a mod, and I made my keyboard my Reface DX sync, and I was like, I'm so excited.
I recall a program regarding your MIDI. Have you tried Bars and Pipes? As far as I remember, as well, it seems to be like a proper one if it comes to MIDI.
I downloaded it. I actually got it on my system. I opened it and closed it again.
It's certainly different.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely different than Octomod or Pro Tracker or Sound Studio or anything
or
like
anything
that.
else on this planet.
Yeah.
But it's good.
I've heard some opinions that it's pretty decent.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I've also heard Music X is really good as well. But I think they're sequencers, and it's like I'm used to the tracker from the beginning, so I kind of like opened it up. I was like, "This is not my language." And just closed it again.
Let's close it down.
Okay, so and what about Amiga music? Do you have any favorite mods or game music, or is there anything that you would keep playing or go back to when you feel like you need a mod fix?
Yeah, I mean, there is I've got a whole collection of mods. Again, it's like there's some demo mods, like things like, I'm not sure if you heard the mod Blue Stars.
What's that, sorry?
There's a mod called Blue Stars. There's a few demos.
Okay, yeah.
And things like there's a lot. DNA Dream. That's one by Format. I like that. And it's actually quite a list of them. I have like a huge collection of. Because when I first had the 500, I had the Action Replay. Oh, I love that thing. The Action Replay. And I used to just rip mods. I even remember the first ever disc, I labeled and made. I was like ripping mods and collecting them. My collection began then. And I still have it to this day.
Yeah, I remember actually now, my memory's just coming back, that we were chatting in the comments section of one of your videos. Oh, it was that video actually where you compared the different music composition apps, and we were talking about how sometimes the samples can be quite harsh, but you seem to have a nice kind of collection of easy listening mods, which are kind of rare, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of these really hardcore techno stuff happening. I guess that was the era of the time, maybe the 90s. There's a lot of that going around anyway, but yeah, I always preferred the easy listening. Even if it's fast, it's still mild, easy to listen to.
Yeah, the other stuff is probably good for building sites or something. What developments would you like to see that aren't currently available for Commodore or Amiga? Is there anything you think that would make a good product and you wish it was available?
I'm interested in if there's some sort of sound device. I mean, I know there are a few that have been a few, like the Prisma and things like this, but it'd be interesting just to see like an Amiga with a decent sound card. I mean, that you can sample, it'll work on 16-bit rather than 8-bit. I know there was this PCMCI sampling cartridge that was 12-bit, but I've never seen it ever. I've just heard about it.
How about a sampler? Because like a 16-bit sampler.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah, that'd be really good. Yeah.
Well, there have been a couple of internal sound cards for the 1200 that do full 16-bit input and output, but they involve going onto the clock port in the 1200, and they're generally pretty expensive. But they do exist.
And I think was there one called something like the Prisma or something?
The Prisma is a different thing altogether. That's a decoder, so that's for hardware decoding compressed music. But there's one. What's it called? The Melody 1200. That rings a bell. And
yeah.
there were 2 or 3 anyway that would fit inside and give you audio ports. You know, with the spare kind of panel at the back of the 1200, it gave you a full set of audio ports there. So it is possible if you want to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then not all trackers support it. I think Octamed supports some of them, and but the older stuff that directly hits the hardware doesn't actually support the 16-bit. So
that's true. Actually, you need the software.
But it might be time to learn Octamed.
Yes, I mean I'm looking at Octamed 4, and I'm liking it.
Yeah.
It's not as daunting as 5 onward.
Yeah.
But I'd like to try Digibooster Pro actually. But I must see if there's like a trial or something like that. I remember there being one on a cover disc a while ago.
Yeah, well then it's probably floating around somewhere. The guy who develops it is on some of the forums, isn't he?
You mean Digibooster 3?
Yeah. So it might be possible to ask
Grzegorz
him.
Kraszewski, he developed Digibooster 3, and I think it's available for classic Amigas, OS4, and MorphOS. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you can download the trial version or something. You know, I'm pretty sure that you can download Digibooster 1 and Digibooster 2, even on some sites like Poet.net. So I've seen the previous versions down there, but I'd have to check, to see whether Digibooster 3 is like a trial version that you can actually download it and try it.
I must check out check it out on Poet then.
Yeah, I think it's is it Amiga Future guy that actually sells that?
Yes, I think so. It's Amiga Future. Yeah, I did see it on their website. I think.
Right. Have you thought about developing new hardware actually, or some sort of add-ons for the Amiga or for Commodore?
I haven't actually thought about anything like this. I think that might
Not
actually
yet.
be a little ahead of me. Huh? Sorry, say that again. Sorry.
At least not yet.
I don't know. I don't have any plans to. But who knows? But it just feels like that. I mean, to that level, it'd probably be a bit over my head because I deal with mostly audio electronics. So I'm just dabbling with when I was doing the SID-to-SID mod and the stereo SID thing. That was pushing limits because as the first of you, I messed around with anything electronics as not audio, as in analog audio. So it was kind of definitely pushing limits. I'm not sure about anything like computer related just yet.
There's always time to learn.
Yeah, I agree.
So, tell us about any modifications or add-ons that you have on your C64.
My C64, the add-ons, I have the SD.IC and the SID-to-SID board, the SID-to-SID and stereo-SID project that I did, and I've done an RCA stereo output at the back, and that's working. And I think that's probably the most I have at the moment. And
how about your Amiga?
Amiga, I have that. I've made that stereo thing again, a stereo separation adjustment. I have that. I have an ACA or ACA 1233N as accelerator. And what do I have? I have that keyboard. It's the some USB, and because my keyboard is just. I've had issues with it, just doesn't work. I got a new membrane, but what happened is the actual contacts just wore out so quick. It was just like a couple of plugs, and that's it. The new membranes are a bit fragile, so I was forced to, which is a pain to be honest, because I just want to press the darn key. It doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Is there any chance, in your opinion, that Amiga can actually return to mainstream and be actually a mainstream computer, some sort of maybe like Apple?
I'm doubtful about that because it's there's like two computers that are already taking them, the main computers like Apple, Macintosh, and Windows, or they're completely taking the market. I don't think that. But then again, there's people are starting to use Linux a lot as well. So but that's more software. I think hardware-wise, I mean, somebody would have tried that. Somebody tried that with the Amiga 1, right? And it didn't kind of. I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think it would be that likely. I think it's more for us who had the passion for it, and anybody who wants to explore it. And I think that's where it probably would end up being. I'd love to see something like this, but like looking at what's out there already, and what everyone's used to and accustomed to, I think, unless it works the same as the other two, which would like be pointless anyway. Because we wanted it for the Amiga, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's it. And finally, Maddie, our last question for you. What are your fondest memories from all this over the years?
Oh, Lord, it's like there's a lot of them. One of them was that Superberg thing. The others, I think it's just sitting in front of my Amiga for hours on end, creating music and messing with music. And also, before I started creating music in 1997, I used to create animations and pictures. So it was just, those are my really nice warm memories about it. And also like doing a lot of recording. When I started doing the music, I got another 1200, and they were just cheap. But at that time, it was like the late 90s. Pick one up at secondhand.
Yeah.
So it was what I did was I had a PC back then also, so I rigged two Amigas together and did like 8-channel soundtrack, or like pressing play on each one as well at the same time, creating the mod that it would go together, which is more trickier than I expected back then. So it's kind of like I still have the mods with the second half of the mod, and it's like you need to have something in between them referencing it, like which part goes with what. So it was those were interesting times.
Sounds like it.
Lovely. Maddie, thanks so much for taking time to join us this evening. It was great to finally get to chat to you.
My pleasure, thank you.
Yeah, and I hope we get to talk to you again sometime in the future. And maybe even if we're lucky, see you at the event in January.
Yes, that'd be great.
Good stuff. Okay, well, that's all from all of us here, and we'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios.